everyone! Welcome back to Rima Reads. So, generally, I'm not a big fan of love triangles. They're often unnecessary because you know who the main character is going to end up with, or the author just completely forgets about polyamory as a thing, and you're just like, all three of them could be in love. So while I could spend many videos just talking about how much I hate love triangles, instead I'm gonna do something different and talk about love triangles that I love. And this love triangle is from the manga Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. So if you don't know what Fruits Basket is, it's a shoujo manga written in the late 90s/early 2000s. When I first read it in middle school, it quickly became one of my favorite mangas of all time. And recently there has been an anime reboot, and season 2 of the anime just ended, and so it's been on my mind, and I'm just like, wow, I love this. Quick summary of Fruits Basket. The main character is Toru Honda, who recently lost her mom in a car accident, and due to various reasons she ends up living in a tent. And this tent happens to be on the property of the Soma family. So Yuki Soma is the most popular boy in her high school, and actually let me bring this up. Yuki Soma is the most popular boy in her high school, and she ends up moving in with Yuki and his older cousin Shigure since she has no other place to live. And then quickly Kyo Soma moves in along with them. Soma family have a dark secret that when they're hugged by a member of the opposite sex, they turn into an animal of the zodiac. It's really silly but fun. So Yuki, when hugged, turns into the rat, and Kyo, when hugged, turns into the cat. And because of their various zodiac animals, they have a bitter rivalry due to the legend of the zodiac. And while this premise seems very, very silly, which it is, the author Takaya uses this premise to explore lots of trauma and healing, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful manga. Character Toru is literally that epitome of the trope, who's a main character who's suffered so much, but instead it just makes her kind, and we love her. While the manga is not perfect in any means, there's a few things that did not age well. I think it's a truly spectacular read. Spend multiple YouTube videos just talking about trauma and healthy healing and relationships in here, but instead I'm going to focus on the love triangle. I'm probably going to put this book down because it kind of gets heavy to hold. Yeah. So, spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about this manga in depth and who she ends up with, various things that happen, her relationship with Toru's relationship with both Yuki and Kyo. So if you care about spoilers, I would suggest you stop watching. If you don't care about spoilers or you've read the manga, please keep watching. Don't click away. Everyone else who cares about spoilers, click away. So if you didn't know anything about shoujo mangas, it's essentially a manga that's intended for young female audiences, and almost every shoujo manga out there has a love triangle, and a lot of love triangles end up the same way. The first guy who introduced Yuki would basically get the girl. It's pretty obvious. I can list a handful of shoujo mangas where the main guy does not get the girl. There are a bunch of things that I really like about how the love triangle is handled in this manga. So, at first, the focus in about the first third of the manga is really on friendship. Toru is genuinely interested in becoming friends with both of the boys. She actually tells them this, hey, I want to be your friend. And what I really like about this is it builds a nice solid foundation for their relationships. Toru gets to know both of these boys individually, gets to know their interests, their likes. They get to learn about her. It's very organic in the sense, as they are, she's a stranger who's moved in with them, but she does end up really building a great foundation of a friendship with them. As the reader, you obviously know that she's going to end up with somebody and you know that there's romance all up in there, but the actual characters are really just developing a very organic relationship with each other. So I think the first third of the manga, you don't know which boy she's going to end up with. You might lean more toward Yuki just because he's the first guy introduced. And then the first major plot twist reveal happens. The start of where things start to shift in the dynamic between these characters is after the reveal of Kyo's true form. So it is revealed to Toru that Kyo has a true form, a monstrous form, instead of his regular cat form. Kyo turns into this giant monster in front of her, and he runs away because he doesn't want her to know this monstrous form. Everyone he's ever shown this form to has either gotten hurt or is disgusted by him. So he does not want her to see, and while Toru is terrified out of her mind, she also knows, hey, Kyo is my friend and I want to spend more time learning about him and getting to know him, and so she accepts him how he is. And it's a very beautiful scene and we love it. And it also starts a shift in the dynamics. So after this reveal, Kyo is much more open to Toru. He's found someone that accepts him for who he is, and while this is not necessarily like the start of their romantic relationship, this is where Kyo is able to be more of himself. In the same vein, after this, Yuki also becomes more open. You start to see the little sprinkles of bitch ass Yuki, who we love, instead of perfect princely Yuki. We love bitch ass Yuki. So you get to start to see a little bit of that, but you also see Yuki being more forward with Toru. He is more flirty and more outgoing with pursuing. I don't like that word, but making his affections known. I don't like that either, but y'all know what I'm saying, right? Okay. Changes, dynamics shift a little between this group. And then the next arc is the beach arc, and the beach arc is amazing. I think there are a lot of amazing Kyoru moments in here, which I'll get to in a bit, but the beach arc also signifies a lot of change and growth for these characters, and a lot of important things are revealed. So you get a sense of both Kyo and Yuki's relationship with Toru during this beach arc. Yuki literally thinks the line like, "You are dear to me, you are precious to me," versus Kyo actually realizes that he's in love with Toru. And Toru, on the other hand, learns that Akito is the god of the zodiacs, and that Kyo, after high school graduation, will be locked away forever, and Yuki and the rest of the zodiacs will be by Akito's side forever. And this is a big arc for Toru because this is when she shifts to actively trying to break the zodiac curse. Her main number one reason for doing that is Kyo, because she does not want him to be locked away forever. And while she wants to free the other zodiacs as well, Kyo is number one priority for her. And I really think that at this point you kind of know that Kyo and Toru are going to end up together. The beach arc really highlights why they would be a good couple. Like, Kyo is able to notice when Toru is down and give her the emotional support she needs. Usually Toru is the one giving everyone else emotional support and compassion, but she beach arc is where she starts to go through some of her own unresolved emotional trauma, and Kyo is really the one who is able to notice and pick up on her feelings and kind of give her that reciprocated support that she needs. And they also spend a lot of time together as they're both outcasts from the zodiac, with Kyo being the cat and Toru not being part of it. They're not in the fruits basket. She's the onigiri. And so they spend a lot of time together during the beach, like having fun, flirting, sand castles, and it's adorable and so cute. and we love to see it. And at this point, I feel like most people know that Kyoru is an endgame. And it's like, great, but what about Yuki? He's literally the first guy introduced. Wild. Like, what you gonna do with him? He's also in love with Toru. Ah! After the beach arc, Yuki kind of drifts away, joins the student council, and starts making friends outside of Toru in her immediate friend group, which is a big deal for my boy Yuki, who never really had any friends. And Kyo, on the other hand, is trying to spend as much time with Toru as possible because he knows he's going to be locked away forever, and these are the precious moments that he has. He's not going to reveal that he loves her. He's just going to try and spend as much time with her as possible. Ugh, my heart, the mutual pining is strong. And during this time, you really see like Toru coming into her feelings for Kyo. She like is fun and flirty with him, and also just like feels so many things every time he talks to her, and it's adorable and we love it. And then you get the big reveal about Yuki's traumatic backstory, about how as a child he was essentially sold to Akito by his mom, and Akito abused him, locked him in this dark room, and told him awful things about him. And Yuki had essentially no self-worth. He didn't believe anyone loved him, things like that. And Toru was the first person to give him unconditional love and support. And then he reveals how he thinks of her as a mother figure. And the first time I read this, I was like, the fuck? Yuki, you literally spend half the book, or half of the manga so far, like, flirting with her? What do you mean she's like your mom? That's weird. And now, as an adult, I'm like, this is so brilliant, because Yuki is a dumb teenage boy. No, but Yuki is a teenage boy, and he ends up finding that he has a very strong bond with a teenage girl, and he has never felt like an unconditional love. He really didn't have any friends before Toru either. And so when he realizes how close they've gotten, he's like, oh, I guess I need to flirt with her because it's embarrassing if I it's embarrassing if I think of her like a mother. That's weird. So no, I'm gonna flirt with her and like try and get this thing going. And he tries, and it's awkward and it's weird for him. And then he eventually comes to the realization that, wait, like, just because we love each other so deeply does not mean it has to be romantic love. Like, it can be a strong platonic bond. And I just think that's so brilliant of Takaya to essentially like show people, like show Yuki and Toru, who do love and do care about each other so much, and for Yuki in particular to confuse that with romantic attraction, and then realize, hey, no, that's not how it is between us, and that's okay, and I can accept, like, we can have this strong platonic bond. And I think that's brilliant. Because it's such a teenage boy thing to do. Like, it makes sense that you would confuse those things, and I really like how Yuki comes to the realization on his own by himself. And also he like sees Kyo and Toru like hanging out, and he's like, and he can see that they're in love, and he's like, that's not the same way that I feel about her. So I think it's really, really great to show that. And then Kakeru says this line. He's like, well, why does that, like, doesn't matter? Like, a lot of guys, try and find someone like their mother. And brilliant Yuki is like, nope, that would be too lonely. Essentially, like, in Yuki and Toru's relationship, she's the one giving him the unconditional love and support. And he's like, it would be lonely to be in a relationship like that. Like, I want to be equal partners with whoever I'm with. I want to be both giving and receiving in a relationship. And I'm like, yes, Yuki, healthy relationship dynamics, king. So I love how the love triangle was resolved, with Yuki realizing that he did have strong but platonic feelings for Toru, and then him realizing what is needed in a healthy relationship of equal partnership. I think it's a very important message, one that not many shoujo mangas do, and it shows that Yuki and Toru can love each other without being in love. And then after Yuki realizes all of this, he changes his dynamic with Toru a bit. He stops with all the flirting and the things that wasn't really working out for them, and instead, is just gives more in the relationship. Like, he advocates for her more and is always in her corner, so she's not the only one doing emotional labor, and they're still really, really good friends. He shits on Kyo whenever Kyo is not treating her right, which is really, really fun. And he loves messing with Kyo also. So it's great, and I love to see it. I already talked about the manga really goes out of the way to show why Kyo and Toru make a good couple. They're compatible, how Toru shows a side of herself that she doesn't really with other people, with being more fun and lighthearted, and Kyo shows a lot of compassion and notice they go through a lot and lots of trauma. They're just I could talk about them all day. They're just so amazing together. Amazing dynamic, great couple. And I just love what Takaya did with this love triangle of subverting the trope that the first guy gets the girl, subverting the trope that there even really has to be a love triangle. This love triangle resolves with one of the characters realizing, hey, I'm not actually romantically in love with her, I love her platonically, and that being okay, and it being still such a strong bond that's present. But Yuki goes on to find a romantic partner that he's more equal with, Machi, who we love. And it also shows what a healthy relationship should be about, equal partnership. So it does such a good job in this love triangle, even though it ends up not actually being a love triangle. The real love triangle ends up being Kyo and Toru, and Momiji and Toru, because Momiji is romantically in love with Toru, but Toru only sees him as a brother, sibling figure. And Momiji, you deserve happiness. I love you so much. That ends up actually being the true love triangle, but it's not the love triangle that's advertised on all of the covers, and it's not Yuki's the main lead, but I think it's just done brilliantly. Fruits Basket has a love triangle that I love so much. I'm thinking of doing other videos like this, other love triangles that I love, so tell me if you liked this video and you'd want to see more. Also, please let me know what love triangles you guys love in the comments below. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Bye.